we'll start off with the Cubs combined no-hitter. Imanaga goes 7. Nate Pearson and Porter Hodge finish it off for the first no-hitter at Wrigley since, I don't know, 1776 or something like that. So
a long time.
It was a long time. The same thing seems like we keep talking about every single week is like, oh, let him go. He's got a no-hitter. Like 98 pitches at Imanaga, I think, at that point, 7 innings. So almost exactly the same as Framber Valdez last week.
Yep.
And we talked about it last week. The Cubs need to go on a 900 win percentage run in order to get into the playoffs. So you don't want him throwing 130 pitches to cap off this no-hitter to hurt those chances. Are they slim chances? Yes. But you don't want to put your team in a position where you can't go forward with your ace.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard too. Like I wasn't watching the game. Like I had it on. Like it was on, but I wasn't like watching it. Yeah. And it's hard, man. I mean, it's whether to keep a guy in or not on a no-hitter, I think is become much more of like a feel of the game kind of thing. Like, how's the game going? Is this guy feeling like he's mowing guys down? Like, do you feel confident that your guy can go out there and, whether it's 6 more outs or 9 more outs or whatever, like, are you confident this guy can go in there and mow them down? Or is this everything's a full count, everything's getting off to a 2-1 count, 3-2, like what's the feel of the game? And I think that's much more important than giving Imanaga an opportunity to potentially complete a perfect game. Perfect game, you keep him out there. A no-hitter. Yeah. Because I think you need the win. You got to find a way to win games. You got to win games. Yeah. So I don't hate it. Combined no-hitters, I mean, it takes kind of the sting out of it, but it's still really, really damn impressive. Like it still really is.
Yeah, and I thought Counsell was really good after the game talking about it. He made the comment of, Imanaga's 31. He's an experienced veteran. He knows how to work through these situations. However, he's now thrown more innings than he has in the season before. They've got to win the game. And he thought that the best chance to do that was to go to the bullpen. Hard to argue. Tough to see.
Yep. I mean,
facts.
I think what you said last week, Sean, you hit the nail right on the head is, are no-hitters still impressive? Yeah. But they just don't carry the same weight as they used to. They really don't. I mean, they're still impressive to see. Don't get me wrong, but they don't carry the same weight. And like you said, if it's a perfect game, he's back out there, no questions asked.
Well, but also he's probably game. Also, his pitch count ain't at 98.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah,
his pitch count's a lot. That's all right. His pitch count's a lot lower if he's got a perfect game going.
Right.
So,
and I think when if it's middle of the season, earlier in the season, I mean, I think you maybe talk to the pitcher a little bit more and how are you feeling, that kind of thing. Like you're here where you're kind of on the cusp, but you need to continue to go on a run and you need to win games. And you sent him out there for the 8th inning, and he kind of, it's another walk. All right, so he leads off walk. So the no-hitter's still intact, but that's maybe 6 or 7 more pitches, and it leads to a walk. Now that's more, not just pitches, but that's stress pitches. And now what are we doing? Now it's 1 double away from a run in, and it just, is it worth it? And I don't know, this late in the season where you need those wins to stack up, I really don't see a problem with saying, hey, like, you've done a great job. You've done your job. We got 2 guys in the bullpen that we trust, that are fresh, that we think can get the job done. I think you give them the hook. And I think you do that 9 out of 10 times.
I mean, granted, it was a 12-0 ball game.
Yeah, no, right. No, I know that. But I'm just saying, like, statistically, like, it's
right, absolutely.
You've done your job. We're 12-0. Like, you've thrown 100 pitches. We need this win. This particular game isn't exactly in doubt, but I think it's the right move. I really think it's the right move.
Yeah. I think Framber Valdez in a 1-0 game is much easier to say we got to win the game than Imanaga.
Yeah, that one's much more different for sure.
And that's why Counsell backed it up with, he's thrown more innings pitched than ever before in his career. We got to get the win. We got to keep him fresh. We got to keep this run going. And I made that move. Again, like, hard to argue his thinking. Not great to see him come out of the game. Glad they finished it because that was cool for Cubs fans. But the wire-to-wire no-hitter would have been even cooler.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to stick with the Cubs here. Anthony Rizzo comes off the IL. He returns to Wrigley just in time.
That was cool.
Yeah, and it's such a cool moment when players that have made such a big impact an organization goes back for the first time, gets the proper ovation, block violation, and everything goes smoothly.
Yep.
My question is, does Anthony Rizzo go down as one of the best Cubs ever?
Ever. It's a long franchise, man.
That's a big title.
Ever saying like what top what?
I mean, does he go down as one of the best Cubs? Like, if you think of Chicago Cubs, Anthony Rizzo pops into your head.
I look at I look at Rizzo the same way I look at like Kevin Millar. Like,
what?
Let me finish, and not in terms of stats, but like he was the face, he was the personality, like he was that team. Like when people think of that team, he was the guy that got everybody going. He was the personality, the fun, the theatrics. I remember him striking out Freddie Freeman. It was awesome. Statistically, though, I don't think he's going to be one of the best Cubs ever, but he's going to be one of those guys that like everybody remembers and talks about for years to come. Because he did have a big impact.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps his case that he was a big part of them winning that World Series in 16,
breaking 15, the curse. 16, yes, 16.
Right? I mean, and he was a big part of that, and he was young, right? Like, I mean, I know the Cubs didn't draft him. Obviously, the Sox drafted him, and he kind of had a little bit of a roundabout way to Chicago, but he made his bones as a Cub, and I think that helps that you're part of that young core, the Chris Bryants, and they did what they did. And they were able to break that curse and win that World Series. I think that helps his case. One of the best ever, though. Like if we were doing like a Mount Rushmore of Cubs, I don't know if he's in top 4.
It's fair. So 10 years with the Cubs, 242 home runs, 784 RBIs, batted 272, 276 doubles, 1,300 hits. Yep. He's got 3 Gold Gloves with them, 3 All-Star appearances, Silver Slugger. Nope, 4 Gold Gloves with them. Sorry.
4, yep.
Man, I mean, yeah, I think I'm with you as far as Mount Rushmore. I don't think he quite makes it. I mean, I could think of Banks, Ferguson, Jenkins, Sandberg, Sosa.
Sandberg, yep, right, yep.
I would probably put the 4 there, but he's got to be, like, for everything you guys said, World Series.
I mean, certainly top 10.
Yeah,
I think top 10. I mean, I think he's well in the top 10.
Yeah, he was a really good player for them for a decade. Is he a top 4 or 5 guy? No, but is he going to be a guy that everybody remembers for the long term because of what he did and the impact he had on that city? Absolutely. That man will never buy a drink in Chicago ever again.
No. So
it was cool to see him, though. It was cool to see him come back to Wrigley.
It was awesome.
The response he got, like that was really neat.
And they did a nice job too. They did a nice job for him. He got to soak it in, without being overly dramatic. But I thought it was really nice to recognize him. Probably weird for him to go back, but it was cool. Cool to see him go back to a city he had such an impact on and let the fans give him a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.